we are going to take some time to let go of any stress and worries. Just be present in our bodies and remind ourselves of what is true in this moment. Begin in a comfortable position with eyes closed. Connect with your body, feeling where you are in space. Take a deep breath in and send yourself gratitude for finding the time in your busy day to relax. And deep breath out, letting go of any stress and worries from the day. Allow yourself to sit with any negative feelings you may be moving through right now. Where do you feel them in your body? Breathe into that space deeply. And as you release your breath, let go of your worries. Imagine them floating away, being carried far away by your breath. Let go a little more each time you breathe. Breathing in and out. In and out. Connect again with your breath, feeling the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Breathing in and out.
चलना ही है टाइम कुछ.
In and out. Come back again to your body, feeling where you are in space. Move about in any way that feels good. And whenever you are ready, slowly open your eyes.
Hello everyone, welcome again. I hope the silence practice might have helped you be in the present, to focus in. And again, very excited to have you all here in the SharED for Planet. आप सभी का स्वागत है, बहुत खुशी हो रही है आप सभी को यहाँ साथ में देख के. For people who have already been a part of SharED for Planet, I think they know it, but जो साथी नए आए हैं, for them, SharED for Planet is a space or is a platform also known as Green Learning Circle, where we invite all the nature enthusiasts, people who really care for the planet they're living in, to come together. We also invite a guest speaker, someone who has been an expert in the field, working for sustainability, nature, planet, to share in their learning with all of us, and also to have an interaction to make sure how we all take back these learning to our spaces, to our families, to our home. to our workplaces and make sure that this planet gets better with time. Today's topic reminds me of Mowgli from the Jungle Book. Um, kind of shocking to see how a human child was able to survive, and not only survive in the jungle, but he found his community with the wild. He had his friends in those wild animals. And the question which always came to my mind was how can a human and wild community can happen, that interaction can happen. But I think our guest speaker today will have a lot of answers to these questions that I have or you might also be having. We have with us Mr. Anirudh Chowji, and I'll introduce him first. For Anirudh, adventure was a part of his life. So he ended up being an explorer, a wildlifer, a bird watcher, trekker, scuba diver, wait, abhi aur bhi hai, skydiver, river rafter, and a nomad for life. Um, but local people and their customs, how nature itself is a biggest teacher, that kept him moving and pushed him towards finding more interest in what exactly it is to survive in community of nature and human. So he started working in partnership with forest departments in Maharashtra, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh. And while training students on field, he involved forest guards, guides, and staff. And he founded one of the most popular wildlife and adventure camping organization called Pugmarks Eco Tours Private Limited. But then something else happened, and that pushed him to leave it behind from being an entrepreneur, and he became an environmentalist. And then he started working with Maharashtra Forest Department at Melghat Tiger Reserve and Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve. Not much, taking much of time, which I've already taken. Welcoming you, Anirudhji. It's a pleasure having you here and really excited to learn from you. Over to you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, Good evening, everyone. And I'm right now in Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve. And as I speak, there is a calling of somebody a little away. And somebody is probably informing the other forest members that the tiger is on his prowl and you need to take care. So, little of what already Utsavji has mentioned. So my father was from the armed forces. He was from the Indian Air Force, and we were traveling all the while. So every 2 or 3 years we would get posted, and Pachmadi was one of my favorite postings of his. And other than that, basically my father never took us. I mean, I can't remember him taking us for any movies, but whenever we had a long weekend, we would end up in some forest. So passion for wildlife, passion for outdoors probably came in the genes. That is how I would put it. Then, after running an adventure wildlife company, forest department requested me to join them and help them improve their tourism, ecotourism. And this is how I joined Melghat, and then later on I joined Tadoba. So today, uh, what I am going to speak on, I think I'll come to it later. What I was really amazed was the number of questions that came in already. And I said, I think to do justice to so much of interaction that's already been happening, I would like to probably answer your questions before I start telling you, giving you gyan, as it's generally said. So, first and foremost, let me take a few questions, and then maybe in between, if you want to ask any more, or if you would like to contribute your knowledge to those questions, I think it'll be fine. It'll be great. So, first question was very interesting. I love this question. Will it be possible to radio collar all the tigers and leopards in the buffer area so that we know where the tigers are moving, and because of which probably the man animal conflict can be prevented? Wonderful question, but being in a department, I'll tell you, radio collaring one animal can take up to 3 to 4 months, because that animal knows the forest much better than we know. It's elusive. And now I think after we've radio collared so many tigers in Tadoba, the other tigers surely know that these guys coming with a gun-like thing don't mean something very good. So radio collaring is difficult, but we have something very interesting, which is new, which is latest, and we have we are using AI technology. So there is a village where our first pilot exercise is underway right now, and wherein what we've done is there are cameras installed at different places in the forest, and these cameras, whenever there is a animal moving, these cameras identify that animal as tiger, leopard, sloth bear. We're not too worried about the other animals, but these three is where the conflict can happen. So if a tiger, leopard, or a sloth bear has been photographed around the village, immediately a message goes to, there is something called as PRT, primary response team, and the primary response team in turn sends the message to the villagers that a tiger has been noticed on the northern side. Please do not venture into the forest on that area. So they all get WhatsApp messages and SMS alerts. So this is a unique technique, though this is just the beginning. We have just started it. So I hope the entire area would soon be covered with it. That way, if you are aware, Tadoba is a part of Chandrapur district. So while Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka are the states with largest number of tigers, Chandrapur district is the district with the largest number of tigers. So state-wise, it's Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh, but district-wise, Chandrapur. And which is very nice to say, but it also brings us into a lot of conflicts. And normally, where do the conflicts occur? They occur when, most important, when people go out to defecate or go to toilets in the outdoors. Uh, Second, when they work in the fields, they're working sitting on the ground and working. Or if they are collecting something called as maua flower. Sorry. Yeah. So when they're collecting maua, so in all these cases, if you realize, when people are sitting on the ground, that is where most of the accidents.
Anirudh, you've gone on mute by mistake. Anirudh?
The host put me on mute, it says.
I think it was an error.
Okay, now, okay. So what happens is when people sit down, they resemble a langur, they resemble a monkey. When people are walking in the forest, around the forest, in the areas of wilderness, no animal will ever attack you, because that is the time you're the most dangerous animal on the planet as a human being. So attacks don't take place then. Attacks take place when you sit on the ground. We also have lots of our grazer friends who take cattle into the forest. Attacks happen post lunch. So after lunch, you tend to be a little drowsy, a little sleepy, and that is where you sit against a tree and slide down. So that is the time when, to a tiger or a leopard, you're just a monkey. You're just a prey. And that is where the attacks take place. So yes, we need to really look at technology, how technology can help our people in preventing such episodes. So good question. Um, Second, can NGOs integrate climate conscious, low cost or green initiatives? All already around India, we have some amazing examples. If you've heard of this person called as Anna Hazare and the kind of work that he's done in a village called Rayagan Siddhi, there's Popatra Pawar in Hivre Bazaar. Then you have Himanshu Patel in Gujarat, in Punsiari village. You have Shanmugamji in Tamil Nadu. You have Neelam, a lady working in Haryana. All these people are helping their villagers in creating a green and prosperous village. So these examples are already there. The unfortunate part is these are examples, and in many ways, these are exceptions. I don't know why we are not inspired by their works to replicate their examples into our own villages. What stops us? See, when I hear people saying, in Singapore you have this, in Singapore you have that, in Hong Kong you have this, in Dubai you have that, let's try and implement it here. And then, we have high speed trains, we have high speed metros, we have all sorts of technologies. So we are able to take that in. But in a village, the neighboring village to many of the names that I took, unfortunately, they are not inspired to replicate that. Why that's happening needs to be studied. But NGOs are trying hard. There has to be a little movement from the people too. A person has asked about the eco-sensitive zone, especially in Karnataka and elsewhere in India. So eco-sensitive zones have been demarcated basically for protecting our diversity, which means that, prevent polluting industries, prevent dams, prevent prevent kind of developmental model which can be detrimental to the wildlife. So, imagine there's a tiger reserve or a national park and a canal passes through it. Now, this canal will, first thing first, is, separate out two populations of wildlife. People on the right and people on the left, the beautiful people on the right and beautiful people on the left, they will never ever interact. They'll never be able to cross across. So these are what you call as linear projects. Imagine a highway going through Bandipur and Mudumalai. So many animals get hurt. So many animals also get killed when a highway goes through it. So that is where some mitigation needs to be done. So Mudumalai and Bandipur, the highway is closed at night. So traffic is not allowed at night. So that's a good way to mitigate when you need a developmental work. You can't have it, exactly the way we would love to have it. So then you mitigate it in such a way that, okay, the damage is slightly reduced. But in case of a canal, then what you need to do is probably keep building bridges, or like we have the famous Samruddhi Highway, which runs from Nagpur to Mumbai. So Samruddhi Highway has overpasses at multiple locations. If you travel to Pench Tiger Reserve in MP and Maharashtra, you have an overpass in multiple small units, but all of these allow wildlife to cross below them. But other than that, what happens is we need to declare eco-sensitive zones also. Now, Tadoba has a very well-defined eco-sensitive zones. We don't even allow resorts to come in eco-sensitive zones. No mining, no industry can come inside. What I will say is, though it is, prescribed that eco-sensitive zone should be around 10 kilometers around the protected area, in many cases, it cannot be 10 kilometers. It will be less. It will be around a little less or more. Banarghata in Bangalore has 1 kilometer eco-sensitive zone around it. So what happens is specific areas के specific requirements होते हैं. Now we have a coastal regulatory zone, CRZ. So for CRZ, there is a limit to which you can, construct away from the beach. But if you look at Lakshadweep, the entire width of that island is less than that CRZ requirement. So yeah, these things have to take into account the local conditions and then formulate the rules. So nice question, yes. There's one more very interesting question which said, how can you make judiciary more serious about conservation? So the question that the person had asked is, somebody who kills a tiger can get a bail. Hmm. The punishments are not too stringent. And then we sometimes wonder, how do we protect wildlife? So if you look at few years ago, it was even worse. Now what has happened is youngsters like you are joining judiciary, and their passion, their knowledge, the media that is teaching them, and social media also, of course. So all this is raising awareness levels considerably. But having said that, there's one more effort that we do. I'll give you the example of this friend of mine who was the field director for Velavdar National Park in Gujarat. And around a place called Bhavnagar, they were supposed to denotify a part of Velavdar National Park for building some port or something, some big infrastructural project. Now, fighting it was very difficult. The case was supposed to come in the Gujarat court. So, what the field director did was very interesting. He made friends with the justice in whose court the case was about to come in. And then said, sir, why don't you come and see our forest? He didn't talk about the case and all at all. He said, why don't you come and see our forest? So then he took him to Velavdar National Park. And the justice was so amazed by the black bucks that flew across. I mean, black bucks don't run, they fly. Then birds like pelicans and all, which are there in the water bodies. 2 days and one night that the justice was at Velavdar, he fell in love with that place. So nothing, still no discussion. But just 5 minutes before dropping the justice at his residence, the field director says, sir, I have a small request. Did you like my forest? He said, yes, lovely. Said, sir, my forest denotification case is coming into your court. I would really request you to look at Velavdar a little more sympathetically. So what happens is, we don't just denotify and lose a beautiful chunk of this forest to development. And it worked. It worked wonders. In another case in Melghat, what we had done is we'd conducted a conference for the judges and senior members of the judiciary. What we did was we got them to Melghat Tiger Reserve, and one day before all of them landed, next day was going to be the conference. And the day before, what we did was we took them for a drive in the forest, like a safari drive. And I had taken them on the night drive. So at night, imagine seeing wildlife in the forest. It's such an amazing experience. So then next day again, we did the same thing. We said, sir, now you've seen our forest, how beautiful it is. You've seen it in the day, you've seen it at night. And don't you think that we need to protect such forests? So yes, judiciary can be partnered, but my request would be, wherever you know any judiciary members, why don't you make friends with them? If you're in North, take them to Corbett, take them to Binsar, take them to places like that, and let them see what our wilderness is. Because unfortunately, in the earlier generation, not many people were exposed to wildlife. So even my friends for very long, when I said that I take people into the jungles, they say, wo guide ho gaya aap. I said, guide hu main. So fortunately, Devanand ji had made a nice picture of guide. So I said, उतना ही glamorous है, खाली हमारे यहाँ जंगल में जानवर दिखते हैं बहुत सारे सुंदर. So anyways, does anyone have any questions till now, or can I continue?
Anirudh, can we continue and then later open up for the questions? Because I think people are really flooded with questions. So uska chance last में लेके आते
Okay,
हैं.
then I'll continue my
But
work
we are
because
very interested in knowing also your life in jungle. How is it being there? So if you could also shed light on that.
yeah. So what I'll do is I'll take 4 or 5 more questions, and then I'll come to my personal life in Tadoba, in Melghat, and these
Sure,
areas.
sure. Thank you.
So there was another question which was very interesting, which talks of, I mean, everyone talks of it today. Can conservation and development go together? Are there, is it always that conservation and development have to be at loggerheads? So these are things that we've been discussing for very long. And what we've realized is who teaches us conservation? Most of the Western countries teach us conservation. So if you look a little back in history, you realize most of the Western countries, when they had industrial revolution, they were actually spewing out more smoke than what we are doing today. But yes, I'm saying they went through this, and of course they must have realized how bad it is. So now a lot of them are preaching, but also understand a lot of these Western developed nations have shipped, have transferred their polluting industries to the third world, to the developing countries, because we needed money and they needed the products, but the products had to be manufactured with environmental concerns, of course, and they had to be manufactured somewhere else, not in America, not in Europe. So that is how we got a lot of these polluting industries in the third world countries, India included. So a lot of, I mean, if there are people who have joined from Gujarat, they would know how it smells in Ankleshwar. If you're traveling from any place beyond Ankleshwar, you'd suddenly be woken up in that area. Same thing would also happen in Maharashtra, in Mahad. So there are a lot of areas where dirty chemicals are being manufactured, in pharmaceutical companies are there, and these polluting industries, yes. So that is one part. The second is being a developing nation. There's always an aspiration to grow. And that aspiration to grow brings about compromises, brings about, um, what would I say? यार चलता है यार थोड़ा तो धुआं एक्सेप्ट कर लो थोड़ा सा पोल्यूशन एक्सेप्ट कर लो दैट हैपेंस बिकॉज हमको जीडीपी बढ़ाना है अब हमको थर्ड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी बनना है सो उसमें कॉम्प्रोमाइजेस होते हैं so these compromises are where development and conservation are at crossroads. But yes, fortunately, again, a lot of youngsters with a lot of new knowledge, all of you are coming into the industry and realizing that this pollution is not good. So we have conditions which are much better now, which are improving. But yes, sometimes that race for development may there are some compromises जो हो जाती हैं. But a good question. I don't have an exact answer for this, but I would say, as youngsters, the future is yours. You are inheriting a polluted, uh, difficult to live in conditions. Delhi, you know what Delhi is, the pollution levels. So you have to decide when you become decision makers. Do you want to continue with this or do you want to make a change? Okay. Can populations of exotics be controlled? You know, exotics, if you go to Australia anytime, they don't allow you to bring in any seeds. That is to ensure that exotics don't come into Australia. At many places, we have introduced lots of birds, animals, and in some places, plants. And controlling exotics is impossible because there are no natural predators. So if there are no natural predators, controlling them is difficult. But also, I would like to tell you something very interesting. Why only exotics? If you look at, the Gangetic plains, these Gangetic plains are the most fertile lands that you have. But if you speak to the farmers, these are also the most difficult areas to farm in. And the reason is very simple. The reason is that we've killed the predators who would have controlled the populations of wild boars and the blue bulls, roes as they're called. And I don't know if you know, blue bulls sometimes deliver twins and sometimes even three. So their population increases very fast, and it's scary. But because we've removed all the tigers and the leopards from that area, and accidental wolf bhi dikh jata, maar dalo usko. So yeah, why only exotics? If you remove the predators from any ecosystem, it's going to be scary because something is going to grow in such a large number that it will become a vermin of sorts in places. There's one very nice question that I liked. It was about how would we work with the local community? How do I work with the local community? And what is there in Tadoba which is different from the other places? I'm sorry, yeah, my mobile is moving a lot because network is poor and I cannot use my laptop. I'm using the mobile and it's handheld. So in Tadoba, this was now, Utsavji, I'll tell you the story of Tadoba first, and then I'll tell you something about myself. Tadoba Tiger Reserve में क्या हुआ था कि 2012-13 में एक किस्सा हुआ था where a tiger had killed a human being. And उस समय हमारे forest officers had gone to the village where that accident had taken place, and they tried to reason out with the locals that we'll compensate for the person's death, and trying to buy some peace. The people said, "What compensation? The two of you, the two officers who have come, we are going to tie you up to the tree. The tiger is going to come and eat you up. The villagers are going to collect money and give it to your family as compensation." There's a lot of anger. And believe me when I tell you this, the same anger exists in many other landscapes all over India. About 2 or 3 months ago, a tiger had killed a person in Ranthambore. Within 1 week, the people killed the tiger. Scary. In most of the cases, most of the places, the local communities and the forest department are at loggerheads. Because in most of the states, most of the places in India, the forest department and the local communities do not interact. There's very poor interaction. The communities do not benefit from the forest. Forget benefiting, most of the places, the communities don't have electricity, don't have water supplies, don't have roads, don't have medical facilities, don't have schools, don't have employments, and they are told, save the tiger, save the forest. कहते हैं किस खुशी में भाई? So that is where a lot of poaching incidences take place, or lot of forest fires take place. तो गांव वाले बोलते हैं उनके जंगल में आग लगी है. So this is where an amazing officer called Praveen Singh Pardeshi, he was a principal secretary forest, government of Maharashtra. He said that we need to involve the local communities and involve them where they can earn livelihoods. So everyone was laughing, how can you give livelihoods in the forest? अभी तक तो और किसी ने कर दिया होता. So he said, no, we'll start tourism for the local communities. So हमारे लोगों ने कहा कि tourism, Tadoba already has 6 gates for tourism and हो रहा है tourism. He said, नहीं, we'll run tourism in the buffer areas. तो वापस लोग हंसने लग गए, बफर में कौन जाएगा भाई? वो तो बफर तो फालतू फॉरेस्ट होता है. So he said, are you sure you don't want to be involved in that? They said, no problem. That is where the first wildlife safari run by the local community in India started in where I am right now sitting, in this village called Agarzari in Tadobandari Tiger Reserve. So in Agarzari, we helped. I used to walk with those youngsters from the village, and we used to find कि कहाँ से रास्ता जा सकेगा for a safari in their forest. नहीं यहाँ से पेड़ कटेगा, नहीं काटना नहीं है, we'll turn the vehicle over here. So all that we did, and we came out with just about 12 kilometers running of safari initially. And then after the safari was declared, I mean, we undertook a lot of extensive training for these youngsters. Ki, how will you talk? What will you talk? And these boys are all Adivasi boys, so they are a little scared about, mm, if you come in a big car, they are scared. If you are very well dressed, they are more scared. And if you start speaking in English, God save them, they'll run away. So this is the population of people that we started training. Now, what happened is when they would stop the vehicles on the way, the car walas and all coming from Chandrapur, so they would stop them saying कि सर यहाँ पे भी सफारी है. They said नहीं नहीं हम लोग कोर में सफारी करने जा रहे हैं, ये तो बफर है, फालतू फॉरेस्ट है. Fortunately for us, the tigers, leopards, sloth bear, summer deer, and all the wildlife, they did not know the difference between a core and a buffer forest. Because there is no border. It's a contiguous forest. So slowly the people who didn't get safaris on the core would come here. ठीक है यार अभी दिखा दे तेरा ही जंगल दिखा दे. So then they would see a tiger here. Then they would see a leopard. So the word of mouth spread that Agarzari jungle has an amazing safari area. So slowly people started coming and seeing the progress here. The forest department, Gajendra Naravne was the deputy director buffer. So he started, safaris in a few more villages. Slowly, Guru Prasad, who came in after Naravne, he increased many more safari gates. You go to any park in India, you would see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 probably gates that they would have for tourists to enter. Which means around these gates, whichever villages are there, they will benefit from these safaris. They could be guides, they could be drivers, or they could be service providers, they could be selling chai, nashta, kitchen. There are many, many side benefits that a safari gate opens up. So now, you may not believe this, but Tadoba actually has 23 gates, core and buffer together. Now 23 gates, but we said we will not only run safaris. What we will do is we'll also see if you don't get a safari, what do you do? In most of the parks, you have to go back to your room and watch the TV. Nothing else. In Tadoba, you can go cycling, you can go walking, you can go boating, you can go kayaking, you can go bird watching, you can sit on a machan. There's so many things. There are 12 activities that you can do in Tadoba other than just the safaris, which basically means around villagers from about 30 to 35 villages of Tadoba directly benefit from tourism in Tadoba. So next time that you hear of Tadoba, I would like you to understand the difference that Tadoba has made vis-a-vis most of the other parks. The other thing that Gajendra Naravne also did was, we spoke to the communities and found out what were their issues, what were their problems. The first thing we realized was the water in these areas had a lot of iron and also had a lot of fluoride. So tummies used to be upset very often. What we did, we gave filters. These filters are made by a Government of India agency called SharED, and these costed just 600 rupees. They had clay candles costing 50 rupees each, had a life of 5 years. The moment people started using filtered water, their tummy upsets reduced considerably. Then we realized, where do the conflicts happen? Conflicts happened a lot when people went out to defecate. टॉयलेट के लिए बाहर जाते हैं खेतों में, जंगल में. So when you sit down, you're a monkey. Tadoba started providing people toilets in their homes. And people started laughing. कि कुछ नहीं, वो उनको आप एक एक्स्ट्रा रूम दे रहे, they will not use the toilet. So what we did was we caught hold of small school children. And school children को हमने बताया कि जब भी आपके दादा दादी चाचा चाची अंकल आंटी पापा मम्मी कोई भी डब्बा बोतल लेके टॉयलेट के लिए जंगल की ओर जा रहे हैं तो जोर से चिल्लाओ पप्पी शेम पप्पी शेम. तो बोले क्यों? ऐसा जब घर पे आप चड्डी निकालते हो तो घर वाले सब चिल्लाते पप्पी शेम पप्पी शेम. तो इनको बुजुर्गों को बोलो हम तो घर में चड्डी निकालते हैं, आप तो दुनिया के सामने So this slowly, this kind of pressure worked very well. So barring a few villages of Tadoba, most of the villages, we have 79 villages and around 1,30,000 people living in these 79 villages with 100 tigers and about 200 plus leopards. There is coexistence. But yes, there are a few accidents, and we are trying our best to reduce these accidents. So then we trained these locals to become guides, drivers, service providers. People started earning livelihoods. Then, is it only guides and drivers? Can that provide livelihood to everyone? Then we started agarbatti manufacturing unit. We started making handloom cloth. There's also a beautiful Chinwada mein. Ashok Leland runs a driver training school. And that school actually trains drivers not only to drive but also to maintain his vehicle. So there are mines near Tadoba. These mines need truck drivers all the time. And our boys who are trained in Chinwada, they started getting occupation immediately. There are so many livelihoods that Tadoba is creating for people. Somewhere there is also a feeling कि अगर टाइगर्स मर गए तो एक तो जंगल नहीं रहेगा पर टूरिस्ट नहीं आएंगे और टूरिस्ट नहीं आएंगे तो पैसा नहीं मिलेगा. So one is we better need to ensure that the tigers are protected. So what I'm trying to tell you is, forest guards, guns, all these can protect. 2012 or 13, I think so. A place called Madnapur ke paas mein, Tadoba had the last poaching incident. 2 tigers were killed. Our politicians said that sub forest guards ko AK-47 guns de do. Fortunately, Pardeshi Saab said no guns. We start working with the community. So community ko livelihood diya. And when we started giving livelihood, these people became stakeholders. So today, any forest officer would like to ensure that there is no, wanton cattle grazing, then there is no forest fire, then also, there is no illicit activity like sand smuggling. See, these are things that we would love to have. These are on the wish list of any forest officer. But when you work with the community, and community becomes a stakeholder in conservation, the guides tell people, the local people, वहां गाय मत चराओ, वो हमारा टूरिज्म जोन है. वहां आग मत लगाओ, वो टूरिज्म जोन है. ये मत करो, वो मत करो. So these things are implemented by the guides and the drivers and the service providers who are benefiting from tourism, and they are doing a great service for us. They are doing things that we couldn't have done ourselves. So it's a very beautiful story of conservation from about 25 tigers when I joined Tadoba for training of the guides and improving the ecotourism to about 100 now. See, tigers breed well, but they need protection. There are many tiger reserves which have the name of tiger reserve, but are unable to showcase tigers at all, or there are no tigers there at all. The case with Tadoba is, as I said, the guards can protect the forest. But if a poacher or if a shikari came in from outside, our guard would never even be able to identify that person. And plus, we have very few guards. Whereas, it happened even last week when I was walking in the forest as we are conducting a naturalist training program and we are inside the forest. And when some locals saw us inside the forest, immediately they started screaming, "Kaun hai? Kahan se aaye? Who are you? Come here, get out of the forest." I was so thrilled. Of course, then we went and told them what we were doing. And of course, we are from the department itself and things were peaceful. But see this, a new person coming into a forest can be identified best by the locals of that village. And when these locals become your partners in conservation, your model has to succeed. That is what Tadoba is doing. And, I'm a part of a lot of organizations, and one of them is in China. And as a part of my presentations, I used to make this presentation that we work with the communities, we are creating livelihoods, and, so and so things for the community, and this is how conservation is happening. and the tiger numbers are increasing, and falana and all those things we will talk about. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, I made this similar kind of presentation. And my very good friend was a park director of Kruger National Park in South Africa. And he would make presentations that, poachers came in from the neighboring country, so many poachers killed, so many guns confiscated, so many vehicles confiscated. Continuously for 3 years, those presentations continued. Fourth year, he says, Chowji, I'm going to make a presentation before you. I said, all yours. And then he started the presentation saying, Kruger National Park has created eco-development committees and joint forest management committees in a neighboring country. And poaching has reduced considerably. I said, wow. So even Kruger National Park looks at Tadoba example, but there are many states in Maharashtra, in India, which still do not talk to their communities. Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, they have no benefit to the local communities from tourism at all. And look at, see, many of these forests outside of Tadoba, many of these forests don't have even 10 tigers. It doesn't come into double digits also. Whereas there is the super thermal power station adjoining Tadoba. There are 12 tigers in that. So, what Tadoba has become today, it is a maternity home. It is producing tigers which are moving into different directions. They are going into south, into Telangana, they are going into Gadchiroli, they are going into Navegaon Agzira Tiger Reserve, they are going to Pench, they are going towards Melghat. So what Tadoba is doing is helping other forests to improve their tiger population. So one of the questions was, what do we do about corridors? Very important. But also we need to understand corridor is not one straight line between connecting, two tiger forests. It is a wide spectrum through which these animals move, but they move through areas which have farms, villages, which have canals, which have rivers, which have highways, and this is how animals move. So if you're going to create any linear project like a highway, my suggestion is, all you youngsters, when you become decision makers, ensure that there is a mitigation method. You create an overpass, the road goes over, animals can go freely from below. If there is a canal, create bridges on the canal so that animals can easily cross across to the other side. Okay, let me tell you something about myself. So, what had happened was, till from 1999, I formed this beautiful company called Pugmarks. We are into high adventure and wildlife exploration. And we took youngsters like you. We didn't work with adults. So one question was, is it difficult? Is it easy to communicate with kids or with adults? 100%, 130%. All you youngsters, it's very easy to communicate with you. And you all understand much better. Our generation, I think we just need to go here. We need to leave this planet very soon. And all of you need to take over this planet and take some wonderful decisions for conservation. So basically, when we are talking of conservation, youngsters, pugmarks, we used to do all these training, all these camping programs into the wilderness areas. And these children, when they saw such forests, such beautiful forests, they realized the need to protect these forests. They realized that such wonderful areas, if someone is staying in a city polluted with lots of garbage around, and for him, "Theek hai yaar, I'm living in it." But the moment you come into a forest like Tadoba and you see such a beautiful, clean forest, you realize, oh my God, ये यार मेरी city इतनी clean होती तो कैसे होता? Sorry, someone is speaking.
Sorry, it was just someone who entered.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll say that when I was running these kind of programs for Pugmarks, I ensured that we worked with the local communities everywhere, and also a little self-interest, if I may put it. Every time I cannot go to every location with every camp. So what I used to do is I used to start training up local kids in that area, local youngsters in that area, to become guides who could communicate with our city dwellers. And this I'm talking of much before, when tourism was unknown in many of our forests in Maharashtra also. Now, these people started communicating well. And then after a few days, I stopped going to that forest when I realized that the local guy was doing a good job. So there was this person called Prakash. But in Maharashtra, we have a very slang way of calling people. So Prakash used to be called Prakya. So all the villagers, if someone were to call him, they would say, Prakya, come here. So once we had a bunch of school children who had gone to Naxira, and when they came back from Naxira, I was talking to them and I asked them how was the program. So they said, "Oh, it was beautiful. The forest is very nice." And we had one Prakash sir who said, "Oh my God, Prakash sir was so good and he explained the forest so well." So I said, this was a transition from Prakya to Prakash sir. And that has been happening in all the forests, and Tadoba has seen so many of these grassroots naturalists, barefoot naturalists, whom I call. So then we started this, started working with the communities, started empowering women. So in Tadoba, we said, the ladies would come and tell me, my dad is, my dad goes into the forest as a guide. My brother goes, my husband goes, my friend goes. But why is it that the ladies cannot go? I said, 100% valid question. So we started training up these ladies. But the gents guides, the male guides said, नहीं यार, ये तो हमारी जागीरदारी है ना, तो इसमें ladies guides को नहीं आता. So next, what we did was we forcibly put everyone into rotation, including the ladies guides. So now we have ladies guides in Tadoba who can give you amazing wildlife examples. The best thing is they don't eat tobacco, they don't drink alcohol, and they study a lot. They study a lot, and because of studying, they deliver a wonderful experience. So I said, yes, more ladies guides, more ladies empowered. But I only hope that our empowered ladies are accepted by us males. So we need to probably learn more. Yes. So kept running pug marks, enjoyed myself, did skydiving, scuba diving, certified as a scuba diving instructor. And after Pugmarks turned 18, I said, okay, now I hand over Pugmarks to someone else. So we sold Pugmarks, and that is the time Praveen Pardesi was now the additional chief secretary. So he said, Chowji, now you leave all this and join the forest department. That is how I joined Melghat Tiger Reserve. Worked in Melghat for 1 year and then moved to Tadoba. Worked here for 4 years. Been amazing time. So now I moved out of Tadoba for some medical my stomach reasons. But I work with Assam, I work with Arunachal, I work with Chhattisgarh. I'm moving next visit is to J&K. But everywhere the model that I run is empowering the communities to benefit from tourism. So they are able to generate livelihoods. And by generating livelihoods for them, they become stakeholders in conservation. So all you youngsters remember, conservation cannot be just a statistical formula, cannot be only pure science. Conservation is a lot of social science. And the sooner that the decision making authorities realize that it's a social science, will we start working with the communities? Will we start working with the people? And will poaching reduce, bushmeat reduce, and you'll have better forests. And I always tell people that somewhere we've also fallen short in communicating what is the importance of these forests. So if you need to tell Mumbaikars that forests are important, the very existence of Mumbai depends on the water that comes from the 5 lakes which are inside the forest. So forests have a capacity to soak up and release water. And that water is what helps Mumbai survive. Same thing, Tadoba, we have the city of Chandrapur. It survives because Tadoba forest gives water into the Irai lake and also provides water for the super thermal power station, which provides electricity to Pune and Mumbai. So people need to communicate better and tell our decision makers, policy makers that बॉस यार जंगल को छोड़ दो, बाकी आप कुछ भी करो, जंगल को कुछ डैमेज मत करो. We need to start telling people and making them appreciate. So that's why I'm saying you youngsters need to come up quickly and improve the lot over here. Can I go back to one or two more questions, please? How much time do we have left?
Ideally, we are already at 6, and
Yeah.
I'm very sure people would also be having more questions. And just to inform you, I mean, I totally know that you see a youngsters in all of us, but most of the participant here, even including me, is not a youngster. We are youngster by heart only.
बस वो काफी है यार. And youngster is 30 below यार, 35 below are all youngsters.
Sure, yeah.
So,
So maybe if you have a burning question, we can take it, sir. Or otherwise, we can let people also ask, because again, बहुत सवाल है उनके मन में.
So I think let's let people ask. If there is a mechanism of how you let people ask, I may not be able to answer all of those questions, but I'll try and answer.
Sure. Maybe, yeah, Ajay ji has raised hand. Ajay ji, let's start with you.
अजय जी, आपकी उम्र कितनी है?
मेरी उम्र काफी है यार, आई एम ऑलमोस्ट 60.
और अच्छा, आप मेरे जनरेशन के?
हाँ. सो
Yes, बोले.
मेरे दो प्रिसाइज क्वेश्चंस हैं. एक तो ये है कि हैव यू एवर वर्कड इन एरियाज अदर देन नेशनल पार्क्स, लाइक ऑन कम्युनिटीज एंड कंजर्वेशन, or conservation and communities or livelihoods, yeah, conservation and livelihoods in any place other than a national park or a sanctuary? That's
It's
one.
6 o'clock.
And the second one is I have worked in Uttarakhand for a very long time, a couple of decades, in the Garhwal part of Uttarakhand. एंड तो वहां पर हमारे यहाँ, और मैंने कम्युनिटी के साथ काम किया है काफी, पहले चिपको मूवमेंट का भी हिस्सा था, सेकंड लेटर फेज का. और
Wonderful.
तो बट या द क्वेश्चन इज, आई कीप माई सेल्फ आउट ऑफ द थिंग, जस्ट टू से कि तो वहां अभी क्या हो रहा है कि बहुत आउट माइग्रेशन तो हो रहा है पहाड़ से बहुत ज्यादा सीरियसली. पर लकीली वी डोंट हैव, हमारा जो ह्यूमन वाइल्ड लाइफ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है उसमें अटैकिंग ऑफ ह्यूमंस बाय टाइगर्स और पैंथर्स, बेयर्स का थोड़ा बहुत है. बट टाइगर्स समहाउ, कुमाऊं में देयर इज अ हिस्ट्री ऑफ tigers and leopards attacking humans. In Garhwal there isn't, relatively speaking. It's more
Correct.
picking up animals, goats, dogs, even cattle. बट पीपल को समहाउ कम है. तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि पर बहुत प्रॉब्लम जो ह्यूमन वाइल्ड लाइफ हुई है जिन एरियाज में कम्युनिटीज ने कंजर्वेशन किया है, जो कम्युनिटी कंजर्व्ड एरियाज हैं, कि दे बिकम द बेस्ट फॉरेस्ट एंड द मोस्ट डाइवर्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ फॉना ऑल्सो. लाइक जिस एरिया में मैं काम कर रहा था वहां चार तरह के सिर्फ डियर थे. Okay, besides tiger, leopard, bears, and many other big animals. So, so the problem there is, in a very big way now across Uttarakhand, is monkeys and langurs. Also wild boar, but monkeys and langurs much more. So people are, the agriculture is shrinking to just around the village. So should we go in for now वाइल्ड लाइफ, खेती छोड़ देनी चाहिए कि और सिर्फ इको टूरिज्म करना चाहिए कि दो ऑफ कोर्स इट्स फॉर द कम्युनिटी टू डिसाइड, बट बहुत कम हो गई है, सिमट गई है, और क्योंकि लोग भी कम हो गए हैं तो अब गांव के अराउंड होती है और वो भी मुश्किल से बचती है थोड़ी बहुत. और जो चीजें पसंद है जानवरों को, एंड दे आर मोर इंटेलिजेंट देन ह्यूमंस अबाउट व्हाट इज हेल्दी. They eat millets and other things, like they love those, right? So that's the question, that any suggestions on how to deal with monkeys and leopards in a way that is doesn't hopefully doesn't involve violence. Like, how can we protect crops? हमारे वहाँ crop raiding is the big human wildlife issue, not attacks by animals.
You're meaning monkeys and wild
The
boars.
base is very big because there are lots of herbivores in the forest.
Yeah. Yes. I'll tell you something very, what I mentioned about what has happened in the Gangetic Plains, where tigers, leopards तो है ही नहीं, wolves भी मार डाले, or in many of our areas, even leopards are restricted to the forests. बाकी सब एरियाज एग्रीकल्चर के अंडर आ गए हैं. सो उसमें ये जो वाइल्ड बोर्स है ना, वाइल्ड बोर्स में तो कंट्रोल ही नहीं रहा. सो आई एग्री, there can be theoretical reasons why their numbers are high and what should not have happened and all those things. But in many ways, when the apex predator is missing, or the predator for these vermins, as they are called now, culling might be an answer. Because we also don't see, even in case of a tiger, when it kills the first human, it's an accident. Second, third, fourth killing jab hota hai, we realize that that tiger has lost fear of humans. And in such a case, either that tiger has to be picked up and put in a cage, but jahan wo roz marega yaar. So Jim Corbett had mentioned this so long ago that when a tiger loses fear, it's best to put it down. And the reason for that is all the other 3,500 tigers that exist in India today should not, people should not look at them as villains. People should not look at tigers as human killing machines. So some tigers need to go. We are very clear about it. Either they go into a zoo, which I don't like, but they have to go from that area if they have lost fear of humans. In case of langurs, I tell you this point blank. Wherever I go, the farms that I go to, or the people, the villagers that I meet, I say, all of you need to carry catapults. These animals are not scared of anything. You burst bombs today, 1 week later they come back. They are only scared of a catapult. And when a stone goes flying next to them, they're scared of that. Otherwise, they're not scared. Wild boars, the wild boar number, the population increases exponentially. A female litters around 10, 12, 15 of those little things, and the numbers increase. And wild boars, when I'm walking the forest, I walk the forest even at night very often. I'm not scared of a tiger. I'm not scared of a leopard attack. I'm deadly scared of wild boars. I will never fool around with a wild boar. They are dangerous animals. They also are short-sighted. They don't have a good vision. They come closer and closer, and then they will eventually attack. They don't just hit and run. They keep hitting the victim. Wild boars, I think I don't have any other option than culling. So culling of wild boars, and in some areas even blue bulls, might be the answer. Because if you want to have the human population in favor of wildlife, it should not happen that all the human beings around, all the people are anti-wildlife. So same as what I said with tigers, we don't want anti-tiger people. So some tigers have to go. We had a case about T1, Avni, and there are a lot of people screaming and shouting, "Mat pakdo, mat maro." Tab, usne 17 logon ko mara tha. She had lost complete fear, and as you rightly mentioned, she's terribly intelligent, बहुत ही intelligent, and she moved up very well. So I said, वो कंप्यूटर पे बैठ के फेसबुक और इंस्टा में डालो अवनी बचाओ and all that. Very easy to say all that. But you go into that village at night, you sit with the farmer, फिर वो थोड़ी देर में बताता है, साहब वो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी आ गई है, अभी मेरे को पंप जाके ऑन करना है. पंप कहाँ है? वो वहां पे है सर, वो जंगल के बाजू में. आप चलोगे मेरे साथ? Then you realize the fear that exists in the minds of people, where you have incidences of, man-animal conflicts, attacks directly. So some cases, wild boars and langurs and maybe nilgais.
Monkeys, the local
Langur is a monkey.
They are not the local monkeys. These are the मंदिर के बिगड़े हुए बंदर, ऋषिकेश,
हाँ, अरे
उनको
उनको
छोड़ दिया
बिगाड़ा
है, तो उनको डर नहीं है।
मैंने और
उनको
मैंने और
डर नहीं
आपने
है
ही
लोगों
बिगाड़ा
को।
है। मैंने और आपने ही बिगाड़ा है। इफ यू सी बंदीपुर हाईवे, जंगल में से सब वो रिसर्च सो बोनेट मकैक्स वो हाईवे पे आ गए, क्योंकि हम लोग उसको, अरे हनुमान जी प्रसाद चढ़ाओ, फिर उसको बिस्किट दो, चिवड़ा दो, ये दो, वो दो, केले दो। अब तो वो गाड़ी के सामने कूद जाते हैं, गाड़ी रुकी फिर शीशे में, खिड़की में, विंडो में से अंदर आ जाते हैं, छीनते हैं। आप अगर पैदल चल रहे हो तो आपके बैग में से छीन लेते हैं। सो वी आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस यार। अब सारे हमने, सॉरी, अब हमने उसको बिगाड़ा है, अब फिर क्या बोलेंगे आप। सो ऑल दोस मंकीज एवरीवेयर ना, पेनफुल।
Yeah.
अभी आप दिल्ली में देखिए, वो लंगूर लेके घूमता है, जहां पे भी रिसस मकैक दिखा तो वो लंगूर उसको भगाता है। दिल्ली में सिटी में तो गुलेल से मार भी नहीं सकते उसको।
Thank you, Anirudh ji. We have more questions in the chat box. I'll read one question that has come from Himali Patel ji. She is writing that I am more than 100% with you on involving local communities, but isn't it also important that what kind of work they are involved in? I see so much of development going in the Himalayan range in the name of tourism, but all locals are involved in road making and similar stuffs. How do you see this?
So, the tourism that we run in most part of this country, it is just pure tourism. And even people who are taking the tourists into jungles and would love to call themselves, operating ecotourism, I beg to differ. They are only, they are not doing ecotourism. They are doing wildlife tourism. They are doing jungle tourism. Till tourism does not become ecotourism, we are going to have all sorts of problems. Now, homestay tourism start hua. Suddenly you realize one village has 50 homestays. And then people start cutting corners. Then people start, the product becomes shoddy because, price kam karni hai. So tourism में इको टूरिज्म जब तक नहीं आता ना, तब तक के आई डोंट सी अ वेरी ब्राइट फ्यूचर. सो इको टूरिज्म slowly, even the government of India is now talking of ecotourism. It's a very big change. The Ministry of Tourism has started talking of converting tourism into ecotourism. That's a very important step that is being taken. So exactly what you're saying, जब बहुत सारे होम स्टेज एक एरिया में आते हैं, फिर उसको नया रोड लगता है, फिर बड़ा बड़ा रोड बन जाता है वहां पे, बड़े रोड बनते हैं तो लैंडस्लाइड्स हो जाती हैं. सो यू नो homestay can be a very good solution, but everyone need not have homestays. People can do other services which are related to the homestays. So मैं जब हमारे यहाँ जब होमस्टे करते हैं तो फिर हम कहते हैं कि आप अगर होमस्टे कर रहे हैं तो आप मुर्गियां नहीं रखेंगे, मुर्गियां बाजू वाला रखेगा, उसके यहाँ से आप अंडे लाओगे या चिकन लाओगे. हाँ, आप खेती नहीं करेंगे, खेती और तीसरा आदमी करेगा जो आपको अनाज देगा. तो व्हाट हैपेंस इज दिस इज कॉल्ड इक्विटेबल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ रिसोर्सेस. थोड़ा मुश्किल है बिकॉज इसमें ना टाइम ज्यादा लगता है. हाँ, अगर आपको शॉर्टकट मारना है, जल्दी बटन दबाए लाइट लग गया, तो उसमें तो टूरिज्म ही होगा. और वो टूरिज्म के, इफ यू गो टू गोवा, गोवा में कई जगहों में, स्पेशली साउथ गोवा में, टूरिस्ट इज अ गाली. क्योंकि टूरिस्ट ने नॉइज किया है, टूरिस्ट ने कचरा किया है, टूरिस्ट जाके फोटोग्राफी करता है विदाउट परमिशन, टूरिस्ट पॉवर्टी की फोटोग्राफी करता है. सो इन मेनी वेज our tourists need to be educated. Our tourists need to be, should I say educated? Most of them are educated. So should we say enforced? I don't know. But we still don't have ecotourism in most of our places. What question you have raised is very true. And I'm saddened. Now look at everyone, how do they decide where to go? Now everyone reaches Shimla, everyone reaches Kulu Manali. And then what happens is you have one landslide or you have some snow and pura traffic jam ho jata hai. And then you have a crisis. Or then, Shimla mein pani khatam ho jata hai. So in Tadoba, as what I was saying, we realized that yeah, numbers बढ़ेंगे, बहुत ज़्यादा numbers में tourists आएंगे. So we said two things have to happen. We have to disperse our tourists to multi-location, and we have to disperse our tourists to multi-activities. So something which I love in Rajasthan. Rajasthan, every village is a tourism village. That's the beauty of it. And Rajasthan model has to be studied. And how they are running tourism, the respect for women, the toilets for women in most of Maharashtra. It's sad fact that I'm trying to tell you. Maharashtra, in most of the places, tourist places, or even on the highways, we don't have toilets for our women. So, कहीं तो हम गलत path लेके चल रहे हैं.
Yeah. Thank you for this one. Again, a question from Jasmeet asking, adults and children who live in cities, what can we do to be more sensitive other than coming to the forests? Also, for a lot of us educators in the sessions today, what role can we play?
Can we run the slideshow now? The slideshow was
Sure.
all about it. But then I
Sure.
was so overwhelmed by the lovely questions people had. So
Yeah.
we'll run the slideshow very quickly. I'll try and tell you what we have been doing to make this place a little better than what it is right now. Can we go to the next? See, we are talking of tiger in the toilet tank, flush tank. तो इसमें हम क्या बोल रहे हैं कि टाइगर इन द फ्लश टैंक क्या है. अगर टाइगर बचाना है ना, तो फ्लश टैंक में से पानी जो निकल रहा है वो थोड़ा कम करना चाहिए. क्योंकि इसमें क्या होता है, एवरी टाइम दैट यू फ्लश about 12 to 20 liters, depending on the kind of flush that you have, of drinking potable water, which is treated, that water goes down the drain. और हमारे यहाँ इतने विलेजेस है जहाँ लोगों को तो पीने को पानी नहीं है यार. So if you want to save the tiger, and if you don't wish another dam to come in, it's better that we start using water judiciously. तो आपका जो फ्लश टैंक होता है ना, एक पेप्सी की बॉटल, मैं तो बोलता हूँ भरी वाली पेप्सी की बॉटल, क्योंकि वो पेप्सी पीने से प्रॉब्लम ही होते हैं. पेप्सी या कोक की बॉटल लो, भरी होगी, वो फ्लश टैंक में रख दो, अंदर इनसाइड द टैंक. जब आप फ्लश करेंगे ना, तो 2 लीटर पानी कम फ्लश आउट होगा. So imagine the saving. And घर में any normal house with 2 parents and 2 kids, just an average house, हम लोग at least 20 times we flush in a day. So 20 into 2, 40 liters. यार किसी घर को पीने का पानी मिल जाता है. Next. Can we go to the next slide, please? Next. Okay. So this is one thing no, go back, please. This is something that I would like all the educators to look at. ये चाय का ये कैन है. क्या काम करना, 2 बंदों को, 2 स्टूडेंट्स को खड़े करना. एक बंदा अपना घड़ी में he'll time the whole thing, and the other student will take a physics का beaker, and वो physics के beaker में जैसे टैप ऑन करते हैं, he'll collect the water. Now the tap doesn't have to run full speed. वो just halfway ऐसे trickle होने दीजिए, और 1 minute start और stop ये बताना दूसरे बंदे ने. So in 1 minute, how much water gets collected in that beaker needs to be checked. So roughly about 500 ml तो हो ही जाता है. Every day, every one of us sees at least one leaking tap somewhere or the other. We just turn a blind eye and we move. So now if you're an educator, get these children, anyone who is very good in maths, to come up on the board. So 1 minute, 500 ml, 1 hour, कितना होता है, 1 day कितना होता है, 1 year में कितना होता है, and 1 school में जिसमें 1000 बच्चे हैं, वो mathematics करके, when the resultant comes out, it's in crores of liters. So if you don't close a leaking tap, खुद को बोलो यार ठीक है ना, खाली थोड़ा सा लीक हो रहा है. But then imagine what happens when a few crore liters of water can be wasted just by all of us leaving the leaking tap to leak. Next. This is an activity that you can do. Another wonderful activity that we do is we manufacture plants from paper. उल्टा जाते हैं हम लोग क्या करते हैं? After the exams, on the result day, we request all the kids to come with their notebooks to the school. इस साल की सब notebooks लेके आओ. अगर आप पास हो गए तो ठीक है, वो notebooks यहीं छोड़ दो. यार अगर फेल हो गए तो घर ले जाओ यार, शायद अगले साल वापस लगेंगे. But anyway, all those notebooks which are collected in the school are taken by हमारा रद्दी वाला, and he weighs it. He gets a whole tempo or a truck. इतने notebooks collect हो जाते हैं, and वहां से जो पैसा होता है ना for those notebooks, we don't give it to the school. We give it to a nursery wala, and from that nursery wala, he prepares potted plants, or if the school has more space, trees, trees cappings which can grow in the school. तो ये हम लोग स्कूल को देते हैं. And the first time that I'd given it to a school, and I remember the principal screaming on me, "I know so many plants have come, I'm not going to pay for them." I said, "Sir, you already paid for them." He said, "What nonsense?" I said, "Sir, when you gave them notebooks, you had already paid. Because those notebooks went for recycling, the rat picker got money, the money went to the nursery wala, the nursery wala got money, he gave plants, and you got those plants, and you have not paid for it." Right? So this is a beautiful activity which is going on in lots of schools in Nagpur.
आई थिंक अनिरुद्ध जी का नेटवर्क चला गया है. So
Yeah, if we can just wait for a minute for him to rejoin. As he told, it's kind of patchy in the forest.
But in the meanwhile, if anyone who's not spoken yet has any thoughts or comments to share, I think it's a good time to take them.
Hi, I'm Lakshmi. I'm from Jamshedpur and I'm an educator. And this session was really interesting. And being an educator, I think there are a lot of things, takeaways. And I have already joined the community. So through this particular community, maybe we can collaborate and sensitize our, young students. We usually plan a lot of programs related to climate and environmental sensitization. So I think this would lead to more avenues for us to explore and collaborate. So looking forward to more sessions like this, and would love to get the recordings of such sessions so that, we can relate in our schools and ensure that children get to learn more about people like him. These people need to be celebrated.
Thank you. Thank you for your sharing, Lakshmiji. Anyone else? Anyone else? I mean, we can also share what was something as a highlight from the session for you till Anirudh ji rejoins.
So if Sanjay sir wants to ask, he's written in the chat if he can ask a question. Sanjay Subhash sir.
Ji sir, please go on.
सभी को नमस्कार. अनिरुद्ध जी की बातों से मैं 2-3 सफारी विजिट जो मैं किया था वो मुझे याद आ गई थी, जिससे रणथंभौर की बात थी और फिर कुंभलगढ़ के फॉरेस्ट में मैं गया था, वहाँ के भी सफारी देखा था, इवन जिम कॉर्बेट का भी देखा है. तो इन सभी सफारियों में जाने से वहाँ एक टूरिस्ट के रूप में जाने की अलग बात होती है, लेकिन फॉरेस्ट में किस ढंग से कंजर्वेशन का काम है और कम्युनिटी बिल्डिंग की बात जो है वो किस ढंग से किया जाए, ये हम कैसे अपने स्टूडेंट्स को सिखाएं. वो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है, क्योंकि शहर में तो सिर्फ एक होता है ना, जैसे कि हम चले गए सफारी में, जीप लिए, बैठे और दिख गया टाइगर, खुशी मना लिए और वापस आ गए, कहानी खत्म हो गई। लेकिन कैसे हम उनको एग्जैक्ट जंगल की वस्तु स्थिति को समझाएं, उसको फॉरेस्ट को कंजर्व कैसे करना वो सिखाएं, और जंगल, जमीन, जंतु, ये सभी चीजों को हम कैसे एक साथ जोड़ पाए, क्योंकि जिंदगी उसके साथ जुड़ी है। और जिंदगी को बनाए रखने के लिए इन सभी के बीच तालमेल जरूरी है। और आज जो भौतिकवादी चीजें जो दिख रही हैं या बढ़ रही हैं, कंक्रीट के जंगल बढ़ते ही जा रहे हैं, और इस बीच हम इन आने वाली पीढ़ियों को हम क्या दे के जाएंगे, ये समझने का, एक सोचने का सवाल है। और कैसे तालमेल बताएं। अनिरुद्ध जी बहुत बढ़िया काम कर रहे हैं कि कम्युनिटी बिल्डिंग कर रहे हैं, जो कि बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है। और वो चीज लेकिन शहर के लोगों को कैसे समझा पाए। शहर के लोग, जैसे उन्होंने, अनिरुद्ध जी ने ये भी बताया कि मसूरी, शिमला, सभी लोग जहाँ कुछ बात होती है, मसूरी, शिमला, दिल्ली वाले लोग तो तुरंत भाग के चले जाते हैं, फिर वहां पर जाम लग जाता है, फिर वहां से लोग निकल के भागने की कोशिश करते हैं। तो ये चीज, इनके बीच में तालमेल या सामंजस्य कैसे बैठाएं, इस ओर हम कैसे एजुकेशन को लाएं, इसके लिए हम कैसे काम करेंगे, ये सवाल
So we can, so we can ask him when he comes,
है।
when
जी
he
जी
comes by.
बिल्कुल। जी जी मैम।
संजय
So,
जी नमस्कार।
नमस्कार मैम।
वो बायोलॉजी वाले चुप नहीं रह सकते ना।
हाँ नेत्रा जी, हाँ बिल्कुल।
एक्चुअली अभी अभी कुछ काम हम कर रहे थे, तो मैं एनसीईआरटी की जो प्राइमरी की बुक्स हैं, 3 आवर वंडरस वर्ल्ड, उसके अंदर भी उन्होंने इको टूरिज्म शब्द डाल दिया
अच्छा।
है ना। और ट्राइबल्स की बात है, मतलब वंडरस वर्ल्ड है, सब कुछ है, ऐसी चीज है नहीं जो ना हो। पर
हम्म
अब उसपे जो है ना, मतलब हमने बोल तो दिया इको टूरिज्म, एंड देन हमने वो जिज्ञासा तो कर
हम्म
दी भाई, आप ही की बात से मैं सहमत हूँ। पर उसके साथ
हम्म
फिर कुछ और भी चीजें बतानी बहुत जरूरी है ना, कि बच्चों में क्यूरियोसिटी डाल
हम्म
दी और वो बोलेंगे हाँ जी चले इको टूरिज्म के लिए। बट क्यों जा रहे हैं
हम्म
हम, क्या डेवलप करने जा रहे हैं, है ना, हम क्या देखने जा रहे हैं। वही आप वाली बात, घूमे फिरे और आ गए जी, है ना। तो ये ना, मतलब
बात यही होती है।
वही ना, हम बड़ी चीजें, शब्द तो बड़ा अच्छा लगता है इको टूरिज्म, बट देन उसका अल्टीमेट इफेक्ट क्या होने वाला है, हमारे जो जानवर है, पेड़ पौध, फ्लोरा फोना, दोनों पे क्या होने वाला है,
हम्म
दैट इज स्टिल yet to be seen, because it's a vast world. Or tribals, they don't want to come in contact with human, this thing। जैसे कह रहे थे सर कि इंग्लिश वाला है तो वो तो भाग
हाँ,
ही जाए।
इंग्लिश वाला तो भाग ही जाएंगे। इवन अब बहुत अच्छे कपड़े पहने हुए देख लिए, सोफिस्टिकेटेड के है, कुछ ताम धाम चश्मा उश्मा लगा के चले, टोपा टापा लगा के चल रहे हैं, तो उनको देख के वो ऐसे ही डर जाएंगे या उनके नजदीक आना नहीं चाहेंगे, क्योंकि एक्चुअली वो बहुत ही सिंपल लोग होते हैं, और सिंपलिसिटी, और लोगों को सिंपल चीज ही पसंद होती है, और उसमें ताम झाम वाली चीजें, कभी चीजें उनको पसंद ही नहीं होगी। और अगर आप ध्यान से सोचेंगे, जिंदगी में बहुत कुछ ताम झाम की कोई आवश्यकता भी नहीं है। खाने को रोटी मिल जाए और सोने की एक 4x6 का कहीं पे जगह मिल जाए, और आदमी शरीर से थका हो तो आराम से सो जाता है। लेकिन आदमी अगर कुछ सब चीज फ्री का मिल रहा है, तो फिर उसको ना नींद आएगी ना कुछ आएगा। तो आवश्यकता है इस इन सभी के बीच में तालमेल बैठाने की, और वो तालमेल कैसे बैठाएं, इस पर काम करने की आवश्यकता दिखती है।
Thank you, sir, Poonamji. I'm
थैंक यू।
curious, what are the thoughts and takeaways that others in the group had listening to Anirudhji?
बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे तो। मैं कई बार तो इतने सारे फॉरेस्ट के सफारियों में घूम गया बैठे बैठे। चलिए और
Thank you,
लोग।
sir. Ji, I think
One of the
somebody was saying,
participants, yeah, I
yes,
was saying
Dipali.
one of the participants mentioned a WhatsApp group that Anirudhji has, where he posts write-ups about things. Is that the same group as this one or a different
That's
group?
right. No, it's the same one. So
Okay.
Anirudh doesn't post on groups. He sends them to a few of us, and we post them ahead because he finds it difficult to be in so many groups. So
Okay.
I think we help him with that.
Okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So it isn't a different group. If
No,
there
it isn't
was,
it.
it would be something worth joining.
Absolutely.
But if you're
Absolutely.
covering it, we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome
Thank you,
session.
Dipali.
Yeah.
He has beautiful stories, information that he shares twice a week, one of which is a text based one, and one of which is a video. I think one comes on Tuesday and one on Friday or one on Sunday, something like that. And they're very interesting. They cover the smallest of things to the largest of issues, but they're very interesting. So you will enjoy it.
I certainly will. So is there some place online where these are archived? Because he's probably shared a whole lot that new joinees would have missed. It would be nice to have a blog or something, even posting it to Facebook where one can go back and refer to um, the past ones. Food for
That's a
thought.
very good question. We can ask him. I don't know whether he does. I know that he numbers his snippets, and the last snippet was number 455. So, yes, there are many that he has done. I have no idea where he archives. I'm sure he does. We can look for it. We can ask him that. But
Or on his
yeah,
behalf, um, if the WhatsApp group that you have also has a Facebook page, if it's posted to both the places, um, that would be worth
yeah.
sharing. It.
So
Yeah.
far, not, but we can attempt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dipali. It's a very good idea. We should ask him because having 455 of just the text ones is a huge resource in itself. Any thoughts from others, any takeaways, anything that stuck with you, or any feedback that you might have?
I
Yes,
had one
Alok.
comment.
Ajay, is it
Yeah,
okay if we come back? I think Alok had raised his hand. Is that all
sure,
right?
sure,
Thank
sure,
you, Ajay.
sure, no problem.
Hello, hi. So, I think this definitely this whole conservation thing is being discussed. So there was a thought ki this ecotourism, this whole thing comes up, but somewhere once tourism creeps in, it is good until when livelihood balance is there, and more commercial interest comes in, and I feel the whole forest ecosystem goes in danger. We can see the hill stations. अभी हम नैनीताल की बात कर रहे थे, उधर भी एक है था कि इन्वेस्टमेंट हो रहा है, मतलब कमर्शलाइज होता जा रहा है. तो इट स्टार्ट्स विद कि एक लाइवलीहुड जनरेशन है, टूरिज्म है, एंड देन वर्चुअली वी आर, हम उनके टेरिटरी में एंटर करते ही जा रहे हैं, एंटर करते ही जा रहे हैं. और अब मैंने क्वेश्चन में मैंने लिखा था कि एनिमल्स वोट नहीं करते, तो उनका कोई रिप्रेजेंटेटिव नहीं है अपने पार्लियामेंट में. तो कोई सुनने वाला, हम किस पे ट्रस्ट करें? हम स्टिल फॉरेस्ट एक्ट में 1927 के कॉलोनियल एक्ट से, हम फॉरेस्ट एक्ट में इतना रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट है, इतना स्ट्रिक्ट लॉ है, मतलब हमने गवर्नमेंट को इतना कंट्रोल दिया, उसके बाद फॉरेस्ट सिकुड़ते 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 चले गए. तो अब इट्स वेरी टफ टू बिलीव. कई बार मुझे बहुत वो होता है कि हम सच में कंजर्व कर पाएंगे? हु विल टेक दैट रियल इंटेंट? मतलब इतना सारा कंट्रोल था, इतना सारा पावर था, तब वो फॉरेस्ट सिकुड़ते चले जा रहे हैं. और अभी भी ऐसा हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं कि थिंग्स आर स्टॉपिंग, थिंग्स आर इवन टूरिज्म के नाम पे. मतलब अभी हम बस्तर में बात कर रहे हैं कि होम स्टेज और दीज थिंग्स, उसको हम सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं कि अच्छा, अच्छी बात है, इकोनॉमी ग्रो हो रही है, वहाँ इनकम आ रहा है, लोग वो है. लेकिन क्या बियर कर रहा है वहाँ का इन्वायरमेंट इकोसिस्टम, दैट वी आर नॉट टेकिंग अकाउंट ऑफ. तो समटाइम्स आई फील कि हु वी शुड लुक अप टू, मतलब हु रियली वी शुड लुक अप टू, कि जो इस प्रॉब्लम को रियली कंसिडर करेंगे एज ए कम्युनिटी टू सॉल्व इट, और एक सही डायरेक्शन में ऐसे रिवर्स करने के एस्पेक्ट में. तो समटाइम्स आई फील हेल्पलेस. तो वही मैंने भूटान का पार्ट में मेंशन कि भूटान हैज केप्ट की लो वॉल्यूम हाई वैल्यू पॉलिसी, कि हमें कम लोग चाहिए, 1,000 लोग ही चाहिए, लेकिन वी विल चार्ज प्रीमियम बिकॉज कि आप मेरे यहाँ आ रहे हो मेरे उस एक्सपीरियंस को लेने के लिए, एंड आवर दैट एक्सपीरियंस इज प्रीमियम एक्सपीरियंस. अब इंडिया जैसे कंट्री जहाँ पे बहुत हाईली पॉपुलेशन है, हाउ हाउ व्हाट इज दैट पाथ? तो आई जस्ट वांटेड टू नो हिज एक्सपीरियंस. on that, and open to from other people's input as well. Thank you.
Yeah, just an update, and this will help us understand how it looks working in the forest. So it is tough for him to reconnect. So he is on the loudspeaker on my phone. And I think whatever he'll be speaking, I hope you'll be able to hear to that. So Anirudh if you could speak now. I mean, we are just coming to the closing part, but people had a lot of question. And Jasmeet, if you could also again re-bring exact question that Alok has asked to
Sure.
close this off for everyone.
Sure. So I will go with that question. So Alok, actually, why don't you ask? Maybe in a brief way, it will be easier. Please ask yourself.
Sure. So when we talk about tourism, right? So all of a sudden, gradually it starts with the development narrative, and then it ends up in a commercial narrative, and all of a sudden we see the ecosystem getting exploited and territory getting changed, right? And for a long period of time, we have trusted on government, right? Strong restrictions are there on the national parks and forest and all, but still they are, they are getting वो सिकुड़ते जा रहे हैं, राइट? तो हम किस पे ट्रस्ट करें, हम किसको देखें कि ये इस कंजर्वेशन एफर्ट को किस पे ट्रस्ट कर सकते हैं कि हमारा फॉरेस्ट हम फिर से रिजुविनेट कर सकते हैं और सिचुएशंस को रिवर्स कर सकते हैं? ताडोबा इज डेफिनेटली पावरफुल स्टोरी, बट फिर हम वही चंद्रपुर और जब गढ़चिरौली की बात करते हैं तो उसको हम एक अलग लेंस से देखते हैं, हाँ, एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स के लेंस से देखते हैं. तो आई थिंक ये वाला बिट थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा है, बट आई जस्ट वांटेड टू से कि whom we should look up to for this conservation effort.
So, you raised a very, very important question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
You raised such an important question. And this is not only about tourism. This is completely about whatever is happening all over. जो roads बन रही है, जो projects आ रहे हैं, everything. If you look at Teesta River used to be such a beautiful flowing. रिवर का फ्लो ही बंद हो गया. Wisdom. So when I was mentioning examples of Rajasthan, where they distributed tourism to multi-destination and multi-activity, it's a very simple wisdom that greed जब होती है ना, तो हमारा तारकली एक एग्जांपल बताता हूँ. Tankali, when I was talking about homestays, इतने ज्यादा homestays आ गए, पर ऐसे rightly mentioned, रोकेगा कौन, इसको कंट्रोल कौन करेगा? स्टेट गवर्नमेंट तो नहीं कर सकती. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने पॉलिसी कर दी कि होमस्टेज बनाओ. तो somewhere I think the local leadership, if it has that wisdom, things can still change. But थोड़ा डर लगता है इसमें. I cannot answer your question, but I know we are going on a wrong path in many places, many ways, but I don't have the answer कि ये सुधारेगा कौन. The only thing I can think of is local wisdom. अगर इसको कुछ सुलझा सके, where what we are talking of is equity distribution of resources and benefits. So equitable जब distribution होता है resources का, तो उसमें क्या होता है ना, you also ensure कि neighbor is also getting, the other person is also getting. तो ये फिर थोड़ा ना मेरे को कभी कभार लगता है कि आज become very utopian. ये ऐसे मॉडर्न हो ही नहीं सकता हमारे सोसाइटी में. We are all very greedy human beings, और ये ऐसे इसको ब्रेक ही कर देंगे. So I don't have an answer. Very frankly and very sadly, I don't have an answer. कि कौन सुधार सकेगा?
Yeah. Thank you, Anirudh ji. And I think
I consider myself, an optimist to the core, but sometimes I feel there are some areas where I've absolutely, gone to the frustration level.
Resonating with what you are feeling and what you are sharing. Yeah, am I audible? Anirudh ji, can you hear me, Anirudh ji? Yeah. So I think we have come to the point where unfortunately we'll have to close this great conversation happening. Jasmeet,
Sir, can we close with the last question that had come previously? which
Okay.
is Anirudh maintaining, writing a book? Has he written a book? Or
Okay, yeah.
is there any place where he's archiving all his beautiful notes that and videos that he shares every week so that people can access the last 455 of them that he has written?
Yeah. Very able to listen to the question, Anirudh. Yeah.
So, which are a compilation of these nature bites.
Okay.
The first 400 of them were compiled in that. And the 200th page, the last page, had something about the tiger. The tiger didn't get a place in the first 200 pages, which, reflects on my view of the tourism, that it is two tiger centric presently. So anyways, a second book, or, I'm trying to say, there can be an e-compilation. So my sister tells me, Kindle is good, but I love to flip pages. So yeah, maybe if I look at the second book, very much due. But there's also one more book which I've written about my experiences with the wildlife in the jungle. So those are some beautiful stories from Ranthambore, Nagira, Taroba, all these places. So maybe I'll like to reprint that and share it, or maybe make an e-version of it and share it.
Yeah, and also about how can we access the write-ups that you have around more than 450. So people are also very interested in knowing about that. How can they access all of them, or is there a repository for that?
I'm taking help of some people. See, I'm computer illiterate. I'm technologically challenged. So I have to fall back on my friends who advise and educate me on that. So I'm talking to a few of my friends, and who are trying to give me something which can be like a flip book in kind of a format, but I can go back to the earlier rights also as much as possible. Yes, even I have that on mind, because I don't want to lose out on all those which I prepared before, lose out on all that work. Yes, I've been looking at that.
Yeah. I think what we'll also do is that share the names of the books written on the WhatsApp group. You're also on that WhatsApp group. So people, I would request you to pour in your love, your questions, all the queries in that Green Learning Circle WhatsApp group. And maybe we can also pick things from there and continue having conversation on that WhatsApp group as well. But thanks a lot, Anirudh, for your time, even in such a tough place and tough scenario, and making it possible for all of us. It was such a great learning. Your stories, your responses, your suggestions for the educators and the students and youngsters like us. Um, it really made a lot of sense, and enjoyed. Hoping to again hear your stories more and more in coming days, and waiting for your write-ups that we all are really excited about. Thanks a lot for being there and helping us learn.
Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure for me to interact. Nice talking to all of you. And I was really, really, again, I want to tell you this, I was really amazed by the kind of questions that people had posed. Very interesting indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anirudh. Please take care of yourself. Thank you.